Moab was afraid of the sons of Israel. Today's Parsha, our 40th Parsha of the year, which means that we have 14 more to go. We are on the downward slope. It is the 40th Parsha of the year. And our Parsha today is, again, a very heavy one with a lot of info, a lot of situations. And every year I try to hit on certain things, and every year I usually use a different marker so I know what I hit and what I didn't hit. And so with the Parsha Balak, it is the story of King Balak of Moab, who it says there that Balak the son of Zippor saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. Now, the Amorites were coming. Now remember, we're talking about a fear that is unsubstantiated fear, a phobia. Remember what Israel had told the Amorites and everybody coming up. He had told them, we want to pass through the highway. There is a highway going from north to south, which in those days was a highway. Actually, in the Hebrew, it's high, meaning higher than the plain or higher than the terrain. What they would actually do in building roads for the king. This was one of what we would call an original Camino Real, King's Highway. And anytime, and what it meant, it wasn't the highway for the king, it was paid by the king. So it was in the name of the king that they would make highways. From the time of Babylon, the Romans are the ones that really mastered making highways, but they would actually put dirt and plow it under, and so it was actually a highway, a high road, and that's what highway means. And it was the king's highway. And Israel told the Amorites and told all these people, we just want to go through the highway. We're not going to go through side roads. We're not going to go get your food. We're not going to go, get your animals. We just want to pass through. And they said, what, last week? No. So, of course, when they attacked, Adonai defended itself. And Israel won. Seems that that's what always happens. All the enemies of Israel are always attacking Israel. Then as Israel wins, and then they get mad. Still happening today with the Syrians, the so-called Palestinian rabble-rousers, and all, these people. And sad to say, Israel has always had to give the land that they win back. If a country wins any land, they keep it. If Israel wins any land, they have to give it back. Well, let's go on before I get political. Balak saw what he had done what Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was seized with fear, with panic. What they did to the Amorites and all these other places, they're going to do to us. Now, that's not true. Israel was not going to do that. And even today, it's not true. Israel is not going to attack. Israel is, like us, a defensive country. We are a defensive country. We are not an offensive country. We are a defensive country. Israel today is a defensive country, not an offensive country. Most enemies that we've had have been offensive countries. The Germanys have been offensive countries. In fact, today, the Arab nations are offensive countries. And so they were seized with panic, with fear. Israel was not going to do any harm. And they were afraid because of the immense number of people. Now remember, the Israelites didn't need the food of all these people. Adonai was giving them food. We had manna. We were not going to get their water. Adonai was giving us water. In fact, water, there was a rock that was traveling with us. A rocky canteen, constantly. Whenever we needed water, we just went to the rock, and the rock gave us water. And Moab was afraid of the sons of Israel and said to the elders of Midian. Now what Moab does is it goes into cahoots with Midian. And now it says this horde is coming and they're cropping everything around us, and that's not true. This is senseless fear. Now, many times we have those senseless fears. In fact, we live on phobias, on fears. Anytime, even you get a little heartache. Oh, you get a heart attack. I want to die. And Satan feeds that. Well, you shouldn't have eaten that pizza last night. It's just heartburn. And you had pepperonis in it, which you shouldn't have. By the way, can I say something? I hope nobody gets offended at this, okay? But if we ever have an oneg, and I put your pizza or your food away, don't get offended. Not too long ago, someone unknown, and they brought a pepperoni pizza. And so I had to gently, by the way, always when you rebuke people, rebuke them gently. Don't go, you shouldn't have brought that pizza. No, that's not the way you do it. You, afterwards, you just get the pizza and put it away. And when somebody says, I brought a pizza where, you know what? We keep kosher here, and I had to put it away, but you're welcome to take it home. I didn't trash it because it's not my pizza. It's their pizza. And we need to be gentle with one another. Loving one another means that we are gentle with them. And again, as the pastor, I have to be gentle, because even me raising my voice a little bit loud would be yelling to them. So we elders always have to rebuke, and if we see something wrong, gently, and not offend anyone. So if you do bring pizza, well, let's go on here. Now, Balak, the son of Zippor, was king of Moab at this time, and he sent messengers to summon Balaam, the son of Beor. Now, a king has an administration. A king, a president, a governor has his staff. But sometimes you have to go outside. If you don't have the means, you have to go outside. If you don't have, for example, you are a president today of a small nation, and you don't have the wherewithal to defeat a bigger nation, sometimes you have to go into cahoots with other nations, form an alliance as he did, and even go out and get weapons that could defeat your enemy. That's what Balak did. He figured Israel was the enemy. In fact, Israel would have been their best friends because they were primos. Remember, Israel and Moab are primos, right? Because of Lot, Abraham's nephew. And so what he does is he summons Balaam of Beor on the river. So he is from Aram. He is from Babylon, that area up there, northern Babylon. And he also is a primo of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, he says, come and curse this people for us. Now, remember, we're talking ancient world. Cursing is a weapon. You know, today we think of guns and missiles and all the firepower that is available. Back then, apart from axes and swords and slingshots and things like that, one of the greatest weapons that people had was cursing. To curse someone. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Cursing works. Cursing works. And blessing works. To bless someone, to curse someone, it works. Why? Because you see, we don't live in just a physical world. We don't live in a world of just physical weapons. We live in a spiritual world where there's spiritual weapons. In fact, every believer should be trained in SWAT. Every believer should be trained in SWAT. You should have SWAT training. When I was in the police department, I was trained as a SWAT team negotiator. I worked for the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department, and I was one of the SWAT negotiators. And we were trained in SWAT. Now, what is SWAT, biblical SWAT? Spiritual, weapons, and tactics. Spiritual, weapons, and tactics, SWAT. Not physical, not small weapons and tactics, but spiritual weapons. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, they're not physical, but they are mighty to the pulling down of strongholds, the casting down of imaginations, and of every high thing that exalts itself against the mind of Elohim. Putting every thought captive, standing up against the enemies that are against us. And every one of us should on a daily basis take on what? The full armor of Elohim, so that we may be able to stand, and having done all, stand. We are a mighty warrior. We are a mighty army. We are disciples of Haderech. We are not just little fleas or little ants. We are mighty men and women of Messiah. We are a mighty army of praisers and worshipers of the King of Kings, the Master of Masters, the Elohim of Elohim, and the only one, Yah. And so what happened is he called Balaam. Balaam was a prophet of Yahweh. Balaam was a follower of Yahweh. He knew Yahweh. He wasn't a false prophet. Now, many times we look at him as a false prophet. Misguided, yes, but a true prophet of Adonai. And even the best of prophets, the best of pastors, the best of leaders today could start working for the other side. And we know many pulpits today that are filled with men and women, even today, that are working contrary to the gospel. In fact, I just understood that at the end of July, there are pastors around the United States, and I can't remember what day it is, and maybe some of you from what we were talking about the other day, they are going to have visiting imam, which are the pastors in Muslim faith, to come to Christian churches and read from the Quran. If you know of any church here in Albuquerque that does that, we need to know, because we need to stand up against these pastors, and I am willing to call them out. May it not happen in this city, because, well, I'll talk about that in a second. He called them to curse Israel. Now, how do blessings and cursings work? Blessings and cursings work because Adonai has given us not only a mind, but he's given us a tongue so that we could speak forth his word. But if we speak against that word, there is power in the tongue. James and Yaakov in the New Covenant Scriptures talks about the power of the tongue. It has power to give life, and it has the power to bring death. We need to be careful what we say, what we speak. Because, and here's the power of cursing and blessing. Here's the power of cursing and blessing. There's ears that hear what you curse and what you bless. Adonai hears the words you bless. Whenever you bless, Adonai hears every word you bless. Blessing him, blessing others. Every time you say, Yahweh bless you, Adonai hears that and blesses them. But let me tell you, there's another set of ears. Anytime you curse someone, Hasatan and his minions hear those, and guess what they're going to do? They're going to go out and start cursing, because that's what they love. They love to curse. They love to bring down. They love to destroy. Hasatan comes to kill, steal, and destroy. That's why be careful what you say, even among ourselves, among our family, to others, because when you curse someone, when you say a lashon hara, an evil tongue against someone, they hear it and they go and attack. You see, that's why Adonai says, bless your enemies. What? Shouldn't I curse my enemies? No, Adonai says, bless your enemies. Don't curse them, bless him. And I'll show you why in a moment. So the greatest weapon that he could come up with is Balaam, the curser, the blesser. Come, please curse this people for me. And he said, I'll give you whatever. I'll make you rich. But watch what he says in verse 6. For I know the man you bless is blessed, and the man you curse is accursed. In other words, Balaam had a reputation. I know, we've heard. Now, Balaam lived several hundred miles to the north. I think almost 1,000 miles to the north. And yet, the reputation of Balaam has come to Moab. I know, I have heard, I see that who you bless is blessed and who you curse is cursed. Well, let me tell you something. It's not who he blesses, it's who hears he blesses. It's not who he curses, it's who hears who he curses. And there's this battle, there's a battle outside of us. There's a spiritual battle in the heavenlies. Adonai and Hasatan, the messengers of Yahweh and the messengers of Hasatan, the angels and the demons, they are fighting. In the book of Daniel, we see this. And of course, Balak said, no way, I won't go. And to make a long story short, he sends a second set of messengers. And finally, Balaam says, you know what? I only say what Adonai says. I only do what Adonai says. And to do, I will not. And at this time, Adonai says, go with him. Just go. But only say what I tell you. And of course, at this point, we have the whole story of the donkey, which last year we spent a lot of time in. We're not going to talk about the donkey today. And so we're going to skip to verse 16 of chapter 22 there. And Balaam and Balak now comes and they meet. And he brings them to a place and he offers them all kinds of money. What we're going to focus in today is just one thing. Actually, two things. The oracles of Balaam. I want to focus today on the oracles of Balaam. And in past years, we've gone through them, but we haven't spent time on them. And then we'll talk about the Baal of Peor. And so Elohim came to Balaam, and Elohim is the one who is the master of these oracles, of these prophecies. Remember, I can't say what I want to say. I can only say what Adonai says. Verse 3 of chapter 22. I will go, perhaps Yahweh will mean whatever he shows me, I shall tell you. Elohim came to Balaam in verse 4. And Yahweh put a word into his mouth and said to him. And this is the word, verse 7. Balak brought me from Aram. Aram is, remember, where Jacob and Rebekah and all these people were from. So that's where Balaam's from. The king of Moab from the hills of Kedem. Come curse Yaakov for me. Come denounce Israel. How shall I curse one whom Elohim does not curse? How shall I denounce when Elohim does not denounce? So look at this. Balaam is speaking truth here. It's not Balaam who curses. It's not Balaam who blesses. Everything is ultimately in Adonai's hands. I'm going to say something. Yahweh is the blesser. Yahweh is the curser. Only Yahweh can bless and or curse. Even Hasatan has limited authority. Only what Adonai tells him. Remember the whole story of Job? You could do this, but you can't go there. You could go there, but you can't go further than that. Constantly. And Adonai does allow him to curse. He doesn't allow him, but to a limited degree. Yes, from the tops of crags I see him. Singular. I see him. Singular. From the hills I observe him. Singular. See a people dwelling apart, and this is in the plural. Not reckoned among the nations, plural. Not reckoned among the Gentiles, the Goyim. And so Adonai sees him. He sees them. Now remember what prophecy is. Prophecy is speaking forth about our present and sometimes speaking forth about something in the future, way, way far away. Now, many times, and that's why we have, glasses, but we could see something in front of us. We read. We see something in front of us. And sometimes we could see something far away. But sometimes there's things that are so far away, you can't really see the nuances. You can't see, like I've looked at the Sandia Mountains all my life. All my life. All our lives we see them, right? Since you grew up, we see the mountains. But sometimes at different parts of the day, at different weathers, sometimes it's raining or it's snowing, or seeing it from the top looking down, or seeing it when there's a fire and the smoke goes through the canyons. It looks like one rock. One rock. But if you ever gone up the Lulus Trail or down the Lulus Trail, you see that there's a lot of valleys and, rocks. And you look at it, and it looks one. That's what a prophet does. A prophet looks far into the future. Adonai gives them words for the future, but because they're so far away, they blend in into one. But as you start walking, hey, it's not one mountain. It's only one first mountain. Then you go in the valley, the second mountain, third mountain, and fourth mountain, and all of a sudden, that's what's happening here. Balaam is seeing prophetic words way into the future, even our future. And he sees Israel, and he sees Messiah, and because Messiah is part of Israel, Messiah and Israel look like one. And Adonai is giving us some hints over here. He's giving us some hints. And the hints have to do with the singular and plural. He talks about, watch what he says. I see him. I observe him. Who is the him? That's Messiah Yeshua. A people dwelling apart, a kadosh people, a holy people, that's Israel. But remember, Messiah is from Israel. And Messiah is kadosh. Messiah is set apart also. And so Israel as a people and Messiah as the greatest son of Israel from far away prophetically look like one. But like that mountain, it's actually separate times. Even could be 1,000 years difference. Who can count the dust of Yaakov? Who can number? Remember, Abraham was told, your descendants will be like the stars, like the sand of the sea. Who could count them? Here's one area that it was prophetically fulfilled. Because when Balak see the people in the millions come, to them they couldn't count. They were uncountable, like the stars, uncountable, like the sand of the sea. And may I die the death of the just. Now this is Balaam talking. May I die the death of the just. May my end be his. By the way, there's a lot of times when these translators, the Hebrew says his. Do any of your Bibles say theirs? Because it's all in the plural. So it should be theirs. But the Hebrew says, may my death be like his. Singular. Meaning Messiah. Now, Balaam, at this point, still is working for Yah. He's still working for Adonai. And he still wants to be part of this people of Elohim, followers of Yahweh. And of course, Balak says to Balaam, I brought you to curse Israel, and what have you done? You have heaped blessings upon them. Am I not obliged to say what Yahweh puts in my mouth? Come, let's go to another place. And there you could curse Israel. Verse 16, Elohim came to meet Balaam, put a word in his mouth, and said to him, this is what you are to say. And he says, this is what Yahweh says. And verse 18, arise, Balak, and listen. Again, this is Adonai talking through Balaam. Give ear to me, son of Sephor. Elohim is not a man that he should lie, not a son of Adam to draw back. It is his to say and not do. Is it his to say and not do? To speak and not fulfill? By the way, Adonai right here is telling us his word is faithful. How many times has Adonai told us something and we've doubted it? And we've actually stood against Adonai by doubting his word. Adonai is not a man that he should lie. He's not going to lie. Everything in this work is not a lie. Anything in this book is totally the truth. Elohim is not a liar. He's not a man. He's not B'nai Adam. He's not one of us. What he says he will do. And that's from Genesis to Revelation. The charge laid on me is to bless. I will bless and not take it back. I was told to bless, and I'm going to bless. I have seen no evil in Yaakov. I marked no suffering in Israel. Yahweh is his Elohim, and he is with him. In him sounds the royal acclaim. Now, Adonai is starting to again throw little hints. Little hints. The word hint in Hebrew is the word remes. He throws a little hint. He doesn't say it much, but he just throws a little thing. Watch what he says. In him sounds the royal acclaim. And he's starting to talk about kingdom. In Israel, there is a kingdom. Remember what he said through Yaakov to Judah? The scepter shall not pass from Judah, nor the staff from between his feet till Shiloh comes, till he comes to whom it belongs. Israel, Yehuda, is going to be a kingdom and have a king. Over here, there's another hint of that king, and here is where the history of Israel starts saying, we keep getting these little prophetic hints that someone is coming. That someone is coming. The seed of the woman, Shiloh. Over here, the royal acclaim, the kingdom shout. Someone is coming. Yes, Israel, but there's a greater him. There's a greater person than just Israel, because Israel is a conglomerate of people, but Israel is also a person. The head of a country is that country. In fact, in the Navy, I don't know if they do this in the Army, but the captain of the ship is the ship. The captain of the ship is the ship. So when the captain would come in the morning, he'd arrive, and we would ring 3 bells. Ding, ding, ding. And a whistle would blow, and they would say, Reeves arriving. Well, Reeves is the name of the ship. But they'd say that Reeves, and the other ships that I was in, Turner arriving. That's not the captain's name. That was the name of the ship. Or Reeves departing. They wouldn't say USS or anything like that. They just say Reeves departing, Reeves arriving. He was the ship. Adonai is everything there is, and Messiah, Yeshua, is Israel. So what is for Israel is for Messiah, what is for Messiah is for Israel. That's why Israel is so important to us believers and must be important. Elohim brings him out of Egypt. Now put that in your little pocket for a little while. Elohim brings him out of, yes, we're talking about Israel. We're talking about Israel, that Adonai brought Israel, is bringing Israel out of Egypt. But there's a greater Israel here, and that's King Messiah. By the way, he took on the name Messiah because Messiah means the anointed one, the one specifically chosen to be the Israel of Elohim. And because we're the body of Messiah, by the way, guess what we are? We are also Israel because we're his body. Okay. In fact, watch 23. There is no omen against Jacob, no divination against Israel. You know what? You cannot curse Yaakov. You cannot curse Israel. Israel is uncursable. No man can curse Israel. No person, no nation could curse Israel. They are the chosen people, and there is a wall of protection around them. There's a wall of protection around them. In fact, if Israel is uncursable, so is Messiah. If Messiah is uncursable, so is Elohim. Did you know that one of the reasons why the superstition arose for the name not to be used, the divine name, the Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, not to be pronounced? Because the rabbis were afraid. They were afraid that if you'd mentioned the name of Yahweh perfectly, other people, enemies, would know the pronunciation and curse that name. What? You can't curse that name. That name is uncursable. Try it sometime. See where you end up. Well done. Well done. I'm talking about fried. Well done. Not good job. Not like in well done, good and faithful servant. Although he does call us to be a living sacrifice. But Elohim is uncursable. And in the time of Moses and David, they used the name, so the enemies used the name. And many people tried to curse Israel, tried to curse Yahweh, tried to curse our Elohim. But where are they now? Where's Rome? Where's Babylon? Where's Egypt? Where's all these mighty powers, the pharaohs and the kings, and all, where are they? And Balak said to Balaam, very well, do not curse them, but at least don't bless them. So if you're not going to curse them, don't bring blessings. I can only do what Yahweh says. Let's go to a third place. So they go to a third place. Balaam then saw, 24:1, that it pleased Yahweh to bless Israel. And so he saw Israel, there in verse 2, encamped by tribes. And the spirit of Elohim came upon him. By the way, in Tanakh times, in Torah times, the spirit of Yahweh would come upon someone. and then the Spirit would leave. The Spirit would come, the Spirit would leave. He'd come upon, he would leave. The Spirit of Elohim came upon Saul the king, and he even prophesied, and he was numbered among the prophets. But then the Spirit of Elohim left him. But since Shavuot, after the resurrection of Messiah, the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, has not only come, but he's come, like Yeshua said, to be with you, to be in you. So now the Holy Spirit does not come upon us. The Holy Spirit comes inside of us. And not from the outside, but from the inside. We don't follow Torah from the outside over there. We follow Torah from the inside, with the Ruach from the inside out. That's what being a new covenant believer is all about. There's a difference between the first covenant and the new covenant. And it's the first covenant was over here, the Ruach was there. We would obey the first covenant and disobey the first covenant, the Ruach would come and go. Now, the Torah has been placed in our hearts, the Ruach has been placed in our hearts, and now we could follow Torah from the inside out, not from the outside in. That's what makes it a better covenant. By the way, that's another... In verse 3, the oracle of Balaam, son of Beor, the oracle of the man with the far-seeing eyes, the oracle of the one who hears the word of Elohim. He sees what Shaddai makes him see, receives the divine answer, and his eyes are opened. Exactly. Remember, Adonai opened his eyes in that story with the donkey. Adonai opened his eyes to see things as they really were. Ma tovu, how lovely, how fair are your tents, O Jacob. How fair your dwellings, Israel. That song, Ma tovu, that's where it comes from. How beautiful are your tents. Here he sees Israel in all the tents. And the Ruach comes upon him, and he sings this song. In verse 7, a hero arises from their stock. He reigns over countless people. And this is, in Hebrew, this is so beautiful. In Hebrew, the word hero and stock are also the same as a bucket with water. And you know how a bucket carries water. And in a sense, Messiah is the hero. He's the water. And Israel is the bucket. And Israel is the carrier for Messiah. He reigns over countless people. His king is greater than Agag. His majesty is exalted. It's again talking about the Malkut Ha-Elohim, the kingdom of Elohim, that Yaakov, and through Yaakov, that Messiah is going to have, and Messiah is going to be the King of Kings forever, evermore. These are hints, these are remedies, these are hints that Adonai is throwing in there for the future, talking about Messiah. And again, look what it says there in verse 8. Elohim brings them out of Egypt. Twice we are told that Adonai brings him out of Egypt. And verse 9, blessed are those who bless you, and accursed are those who curse you. And this is Balaam telling Israel, blessed are they who bless you, and accursed are they that curse you. This is the third time this is found. The first time, of course, was in Genesis 12:3, where Adonai in Lech Lecha tells Abraham, whoever blesses you will be blessed, whoever curses you will be cursed. And again, in Genesis 27:29, when Adonai speaks to Isaac, to Yaakov, that whoever blesses you will be blessed, whoever curses you will be cursed. And that's one of the most important things we need to do. Whoever blesses Israel and his people will be blessed. Whoever curses Israel and his people will be cursed. By the way, put yourself in that number. Put yourself in that number. In other words, whoever blesses you, because you are Israel too. Whether you're Jew or Gentile here, you've been either regrafted or grafted into the tree of Israel. Whether you're male or female, whether you're rich or poor, however you are, Adonai will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. That's why don't worry what anybody says against you. Just let it go over your head. If anybody says anything against you, let it go and bless them. Bless your enemies. Do not curse, Yeshua says. Bless your enemies. How many of you have enemies? If you have enemies, bless them. Even right now, think, Father, I bless so-and-so. I bless so-and-so. I bless them. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Do not hold this charge against them, Father. Remember what Yeshua and Stephen said as they were about to die? We should do that every day. Do not hold this against them. They know not what they do. They knew what they were doing, but look at that. They know not what they do. How gracious and humble Yeshua and Stephen were. And so what happens here is now we have another Balak falls into a rage. He beats his hands together. I brought you to curse my enemies, and you bless them 3 times. Be off with you. Go home. I promise to load honors on you. But watch what Balak does. Watch here in verse 11. Yahweh himself has deprived you of those riches. So he blames Yahweh. He says, Balaam, you've been listening. Don't listen to Yahweh. The reason you're going to go home poor and empty is you listen to Yahweh. You listen to him. Don't listen to him. Listening to Yahweh will bring you to poverty. Yeah, but the riches that Adonai could heap on us. By the way, all of a sudden, a little seed popped into Balaam. That's true. And all of a sudden, this seed is going to be watered, and all of a sudden, it's going to come to haunt Balaam. And Balaam will not die the death that he so earnestly prayed for and wanted. Let's go on here. So now, Yahweh comes to Balaam and gives him a word. Verse 15. The oracle of Balaam, the son of Beor, the oracle of the man with the far-seeing eyes, the oracle of the one who hears the word of Elohim, of the one who knows the knowledge of the Most High. He sees what Shaddai makes him see. He received the divine answer, and his eyes are open. I see him, but not in the present. I behold him, but not close at hand. Can you imagine? Balaam looks out into the future. He looks, Adonai opens his eyes, and far, far away, I see him, he says, but not now. I behold him, but not in front of me. I see him. And out in the distant history, in distant times from him, he sees Yeshua. He sees Yeshua the Messiah. He sees him. He can't make him out. Doesn't have full knowledge of him, but he sees him way over there. And watch what he says. A star comes out from Jacob and takes the leadership. A scepter arises from Israel. In other words, King Messiah, the king is coming. The anointed king is coming. And all kings were anointed, by the way. And this is talking about the Davidic kingdom, of which Messiah, the son of David, our Messiah, our Yeshua, not all the false messiahs that have been, but Yeshua the Messiah. He sees him far away. It crushes. Israel exerts his strength. Jacob dominates his enemies. These are prophetic insights. Now go with me to the book of Matthew. The book of Matthew, chapter 2. And here in Matthew chapter 2, verse 1. Matthew 2:1. After Yeshua had been born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the reign of King Herod, some Magi came to Jerusalem from the east. So Yeshua is born in Bethlehem. The word Bethlehem means the house of bread. Yeshua said, I am the bread of life. And it says, magos, magi. Some Bibles say wise men. It's not wise men, it's magos. The word magos has come to mean magician. But a magos is not a magician. A magos is a title. Now, think of the word magnificent. Think of the word majestic. Magnificent, majestic. What do those words, what are the synonym are there? Synonym. I always have problems with that word. What other words like that one is there? Great, mighty. And that's what the word magos means. Great ones came from the east. East is Babylon. By the way, the Hebrew word for magos is the word rav, rava. Todah is thank you. Everybody say todah, thank you. Todah rava. Todah rava means greatly thank you, or thank you very much. Todah rava. Todah, todah rava. When in Israel, todah, thank you. Todah rava, thank you very much, or thank you greatly, magnificently. So who were these Ravan? Who were these great ones? We don't know if they were the descendants of the great ones in the time of Daniel. Remember, Daniel had the word in Babylon and became Medo-Persia, and then they took over, Greece took over, and all that area. The Jews were in Babylon since the Babylon captivity till now when Baghdad was taken from Saddam Hussein. That's when all the Jews finally came back to Israel from Baghdad. Some of our ancestors came to New Mexico from Spain, who came from Babylon, who came from Israel. So from Israel, they went to Babylon. From Babylon, they went to Spain. From Spain, they came to New Mexico. And here we are. A rich history is there. But these people come from the east. Where is the infant Melech Yehudi? Remember, Melech is the king of the Jews. The scepter shall not depart from Judah till he comes to whom it belongs. A star will come. I see him. A star, a dynasty, a kingdom. So these guys, these Magoi, not Magoo, but Magoi, these great ones, these, I don't know if they were rabbis or non-believing, no, they were definitely not magicians or astrologers, as many people claim. But these guys knew something of prophecy. For we have seen his star. We have seen his star. We're not talking about what star were you born on or what sign were you born on. We're not talking about zodiac stars. We have seen his star. You know, it's interesting that here's a prophecy. A star will come out of Jacob. A star will come out of Jacob. Now these guys are in the east. And in the east, they're looking west. They're in Babylon, they're looking west. And all of a sudden, in the west, there is a star. I would call it like a star burst over the land of Judah. And from there, everybody in Babylon knew that Judah was west. Just like everybody knew that if somebody says, go west, young man, go west. Go hit the coast. We're going to Caliphas. You know, we're going west. So everybody knows that Yehuda, and they saw his star. What was that star? Let me tell you. That wasn't the triple conjunction. That wasn't this star or Venus. You know, all kinds of people have all kinds of things like that. All of a sudden, watch this. On the night that Yeshua was born, over Beit Lechem, all of a sudden, there was light. A bright light. Anybody know what that bright light was? That bright light was the angels that appeared to shepherd boys, and all of a sudden a great light appears, and the heavenly choir, heaven opened,